Iran goes on military alert, says hostilities with Israel and the U.S. are imminent. And then we have drones over Germany. There are warning signal, they're saying, according to the Interior Minister. So we've got that and more coming up tonight on Don'tSpeakNews.com. We'll just go back to the story I started with. Iran goes on military alert, says hostilities with Israel and the U.S. are imminent. Wow. The Islamic Republic of Iran, Army, and the IRGC are on high alert with Iranian media and officials warning of an imminent confrontation with the United States and Israel. An update at 10 a.m. this morning Eastern Time. President Trump just signed an executive order that any attack on Qatar would be a direct threat to the United States. Remember, the largest U.S. air base in the Middle East is in Qatar, and in the last 24 hours, dozens of American fighter jets and refueling tankers have been shifted eastward, many landing at this El Udeid air base. This isn't routine diplomacy. This looks like the U.S. setting the legal and military stage for an Iranian strike that could come from Qatari soil. The order states that the United States shall regard any attack on the territory, sovereignty, or critical infrastructure of the state of Qatar as a threat to peace and security of the United States. So they made like almost an Article 5 of NATO treaty with Qatar. In the event of such an attack, the United States shall take all lawful and appropriate measures, including diplomatic, economic, and if necessary, military, to defend the interests of the United States and the state of Qatar. I imagine they had to make this kind of concession after Israel attacked Qatar here, a few weeks ago to kill some Hamas negotiators. So we have that story. And then this one, Germany's freaking out because there's a lot of drones that have been flying over, just like in Denmark as well. And now they say that France has confiscated or pulled over, whatever you want to say, seized a Russian oil tanker out at sea because they may be responsible for some of these drones. So that's ongoing and a developing story. But anyway, back to this story. So did planes come to the coast, ship flying a foreign flag? In the south, they circled over defense companies and aircraft manufacturers. So they've been going over critical infrastructure inside of Germany and Denmark. So it says here, drone alarm across Germany from the north to the south, sightings of unmanned missiles, especially via ports, by power plants, defense companies, and military facilities. I'd say they're mapping you out. Russia is. And even that, they say mother drones, drones that release a swarm of smaller drones, apparently controlled with artificial intelligence, they're saying. So the Federal Minister of the Interior, Alexander Dobrindt, is alarmed, warns in Bild. The drone overflights are a warning signal, and Germany asks itself, is that what Chancellor Merz meant with the sentence, we are not yet at war, but we are no longer at peace either? Yeah, they're already at war. And now we can see that war is starting to take shape. Russia's doing reconnaissance right over the top of them, and they don't know what to do about it. One thing is certain, drone sightings have been increasing for months. The unmanned aircraft always spy on so-called critical infrastructure, defense companies, and military installations. And then they usually disappear without you knowing who controlled them. But things have been getting tricky for a week, according to this Bild report. Russian drone swarm over Kiel and Rostock. Thursday last week at around 2 a.m., two small drones over the Thyssen Naval Shipyard in Kiel. The special shipyard builds submarines for the German Navy and for NATO partners and is a central building block of the German arms and defense industry. Yes, and I'm sure a target Russia would love to take out when this war gets going into NATO proper. So then more came. Now it's becoming known that these drone flights over Schleswig and Holstein, which Spiegel first reported on, were more explosive than previously thought. The authorities are investigating the suspicion that the unmanned airmen specifically flew over critical infrastructure facilities in order to measure them. Of course they did. Why else would they be doing it? So I'll let you read the rest on your own. This is translated from German into English. But one more note here. They also said these drones have flown over Kiel State House, the seat of the state parliament, and apparently the Hyde Refinery, a company that, among other things, serves the airport, Hamburg, supplied with kerosene. According to Bild, it was a large mother drone with rigid wings. This dropped off what was probably an AI-controlled swarm of quadcopter drones with four rotors. Explosive, according to the German security authorities, the drones were launched from a ship flying a foreign flag in the Baltic Sea that was heading towards Russia. It is said to be a ship of the so-called Shadow Fleet of the Russian Secret Services. Wow. Maybe that's why France pulled that ship over today. But there's also this, the warning that is not always Russian ships that drop off the drones. The note, also from safety circles, fixed-wing aircraft could not take off or land on many tankers. In addition, many of the large drones orbiting over military ships and installations on the mainland have ranges of 600 to 800 kilometers. So who knows where they're really coming from, in other words. So, like I said, I'll put this link up like I always do on the website, don'tspeaknews.com, so you can peruse through it on your own. And then we go over here to Telegram and take a look at this one. From France, the French army chief warns of imminent high-intensity warfare and he's putting everything on readiness. So who? The chief of staff of the French army. And what was the deal? The chief of staff of the French army has issued a public statement indicating a need for readiness for high-intensity warfare as early as tonight. And it's already nighttime in Europe. So as I'm speaking right now, it's 4:40 Pacific time. It's probably about midnight or, 12:40-ish their time. They're about 8 hours ahead, I think. Anyway, this statement is part of an effort to prepare the French public for a potential direct military confrontation with the Russian Federation. Analysis: the statement marks a significant public messaging shift by the French military, moving from general preparedness to a direct and urgent warning about a specific threat. So, if you guys aren't taking this seriously, I don't know what else to tell you. This is coming straight from the French army. The French army chief is warning of imminent high-intensity warfare with Russia. So it's coming. And it could be as early as tonight, he's saying. Why do you think they've been sending all these drone reconnaissance missions over NATO? Germany and Denmark in particular. Anyway, also now we have China getting in on the mix here. Fact check, what's behind China's rapid missile expansion along its eastern coast? Yes, indeed. What is the deal with that? All kinds of missile expansion, and these are missiles that could potentially take out U.S. ships. It says here, China is rapidly expanding its missile forces along its eastern coast, leaving U.S. strategic planners sweating bullets. China fortifies defenses. The New York Times published satellite images alleging China has expanded military bases 611 and 616 along its southern coast. Reports say the sites are now equipped with advanced missiles, including the hypersonic Dongfang 17 and the intermediate range Dongfang 26. According to the Pentagon, China's rocket force has increased its missile stockpile nearly 50% in 4 years to roughly 3,500. The New York Times claims the missiles could target U.S. bases in Taiwan, Guam, and Japan, as well as U.S. Navy ships in the Taiwan Strait. Washington has been, what the New York Times leaves out, it says here, that Washington has been militarizing the Pacific for years. In 2026, Taiwan is set to receive a long-delayed $22 billion U.S. arms package, which includes M1A2 Abrams tanks, MQ-98 Sky Guardian drones, and dozens of HIMARS systems, all framed as defense against China, which Beijing dismisses as a false pretext. And the U.S. is also arming Japan, deploying hundreds of Tomahawk cruise missiles under the banner of deterrence. Washington now controls 9 military bases in the Philippines, right on China's doorstep within striking range of Taiwan. Altogether, the U.S. maintains at least 66 major military sites across the Indo-Pacific. Yeah, so who's threatening who here? Both the Biden and Trump administrations have escalated hostile rhetoric, with Biden openly threatening Beijing with a military option. Wow. So don't think China isn't going to get in on this, guys. I've said this before. I've said this many times, that when this war kicks off, Russia's going to hit NATO and the U.S. most likely. China's going to hit NATO and the U.S. North Korea is going to attack South Korea at the very least. Iran is going to attack U.S. military facilities in Israel in the Middle East, along with other allies they may have that we may not even know about. So all hell is about to break loose on the war fronts all around the world very soon. So head on the swivel, prayed up and prepped up as always. Then we have this. I just read to you, of course, this is another story from Intel Slava. Mass drone flights over critical infrastructure have been recorded in Germany. And then this story. First kill of a Russian drone by NATO. This is from Blazing Press. F-35, first kinetic attack um, on Russia by NATO. War is now unfolding between NATO and Russia. Look at the drone painted on that F-35. So there you go. War is now unfolding between NATO and Russia. Actual shooting going on. And then last but not least, I wanted to put this note up here so I didn't forget. For what I hope is the last time, guys, I don't do private conversations on Telegram or any other messaging service. And it's no offense to anyone, person, or any individuals, but most of the people that contact me, so-called people, are robots, 99% of them. And I'm not able to tell who's who at this point. Of course, the robots sometimes make it obvious, sometimes not. But anyway, I never get anything done if I were to sit and chat with each one of you individually. I also need to spend some time with my family from time to time, believe it or not. So anyway, I keep getting messages here on Telegram, guys. And if you are sending me messages, don't be offended when I don't answer or if you get blocked, because more than likely you're a robot in my mind. So that's how I have to take it. But please don't be offended. I don't do any private chats. Like I said, with all the stuff, hundreds of emails I get every day and all of the things I have to go through and research, if I chat with each person individually, I'd never get anything done. So please don't take offense. I just don't do private messages that way. If you want to contact me, you can do so through the website at don'tspeaknews.com, home base for all that we do. And then just contact me through the subscribe, contact Johnny tab here at Proton Mail. And I do check all my emails. So I don't always have time to get back to you, but more than likely I will if you send it there. But I do not answer any telegrams or messengers or any of that stuff. Direct messages, no. That I do not do unless it's been prearranged through email like this. So there we have it. Now, while we're here, if you'd like to support us, channel support tab is right here. And all the links to do so are right there. And we thank you very, very much for your support. Without you guys, we would not be here. And then to find us around the internet, you can check on Rumble, BitChute, and Telegram, this link right here. And all the places to find us around the internet are listed there. And that's the only places I'm going to go on because we get kicked off of everywhere else. Instagram, Twitter, even Patreon we've been kicked off of. So these are the places you can find us, these places and nowhere else. And that will be it for now. God bless, take care. Johnny Storm, Don't Speak News.